Hello YouTube universe, I'm Shane with Studio 2 Magic, and today's video is going to be another Creator's Corner, and I have a quick tip for you. This is a quick way to extract someone from like a photo for a thumbnail, and even how to put an outline around them. Making thumbnails is time consuming, so anything that makes it faster is better. And this is just a quick tip in Photoshop to have it do most of the work for you. So let's jump into Photoshop and take a look. Okay, so now in Photoshop, I have my photos open, and I'm going to take this picture, which should be pretty easy to do because they're all standing separately. And I'm going to go up to select and hit subject. And it already cut them out pretty good. All three of them, it did all three of them. Now we've got a little bit of problem here. There's a little bit there that I don't want, but I'm just gonna say that I want to extract him. So what I could do from this point, you have to do a little bit of cleanup sometimes. So I'm gonna use the quick selection tool and just start kind of tapping these things and filling in the rest of what I want here. Whoops, got a little too much. If I hold down Alt, I can kind of deselect that little section there that I didn't want. If you hold down Alt and Control, then right click, you can kind of adjust the brush size and hardness by just how you move the mouse. So I'm gonna get it down pretty small there. At this point, he's extracted pretty well. And I'm going to not select the other two people, so I'm going to just deselect them. So now if I make sure I have one of my masking tools selected, I can right click inside of the selected mask and choose layer via cut or layer via copy. And if I hide the background, we just have him. And here's where it gets cool. If I just go to this layer, right click it and go to blending options, I can turn on stroke. So that automatically draws a line around him, which is pretty cool. It draws a line around my mask. If I click on stroke, I can adjust the size of that outline. I can change the opacity if I want to, and I can change the color to anything I want also. But I'll just go with that, click OK. So now I can turn on my background again and have an outline around him, or I could just paint over my background and have just him extracted. And from here I could start, moving him around, do something and start building a thumbnail, write some text up here, whatever I wanted to do. So that's the main bullet points for today's video, where you can use select, subject, do a little cleanup and put a stroke around it, and then you have an image with a border around it that you can use for your thumbnails. But if you want to stick around, I'm going to look at some of the other images that I wanted to play with. Some of them have groups, and we're going to see how well select subject does on those. If I take this one and go to select subject, let's see what it pulls. Wow, it pulled pretty much the people. So there's a little area here that it didn't select, so I'm going to just take the rectangular tool, set it to select it, and fill that in. And then there's a little section here of that tube not being selected, so maybe I'll go ahead and include that also. And then I can just right click inside of my mask, hit layer via cut, and hide my background, and there they are. Let's see how this group of people does. I'm going to select subject. It did pretty well. We've got some areas here that it probably could use a little work. And sometimes you'll need to deselect an area and the quick selection tool won't really work that well, so you may want to use the lasso tool or one of the magnetic lasso tools. I'm just going to use the lasso tool, set it to deselect, and just kind of hand draw this. So that's a couple of your options when you're trying to do a little bit of the fine-tune cleanup that it needs sometimes, but most of the time it does pretty well with selecting the subject. I mean, at a glance, that's a pretty good extraction for a complicated group of people, and I didn't even do much work on that. What else we got here? Here's a group of people. Let's try this one. Judging on how the other ones have done, I think this one will do pretty well. It is a lot more pixelated, so I'm going to go to select, subject. Looks pretty good. I'm just going to layer via copy and hide the background, and there they are. I can take my layer, go to blending options, hit stroke, and boom! Fill in the background if I want. All right, let's see how it does with this big group of people. Select, subject. It did pretty good. We lost a little bit here. I'd like to include that, so I'm going to go to my quick selection tool and just kind of fill in that hat a little bit. Alt click to deselect that. There's a little garbage here, deselect that, get those hands back. That's looking pretty good. All right, right click, Go to layer via copy, hide that layer, and pretty good. All right, one more time. We'll take this image where he's got his hand on his shoulder, so they're actually connected, and we'll go up to select subject. I thought it'd do pretty well. I'm gonna again use the quick selection tool, alt click, clean that up a little bit right there. We lost a little bit of his arm again. So that looks like a pretty good extraction. So I'm going to do that and deselect her, and then I'm going to go back to this mask and I'm going to right click it and hit feather. And I'm going to feather it at about, this is 4K footage, so I'm gonna do about a 6 feather. And now if I right click and go to layer via copy, hide the background, it's slightly soft around the edge. And I'm gonna go ahead and put a stroke around it. So blending options, and we go to stroke. I actually think I like it better without the feathering, so I'm gonna go back and unfeather it. I'm gonna turn the background on and go ahead and color it in. And then now I have this image that I could use to start building a thumbnail out of. So I can add some text. So that's what I wanted to show you. If you want to pull a person out of a photo, instead of having to painstakingly mask them out, just go to select and choose subject, and Photoshop will do most of the work for you. So enjoy that tip. If you already knew it, great, but if you didn't, you're going to be very happy you learned it. It's going to save you a lot of time.